Have you switched to building your soffits out of Drywall Grid yet? What do contractors have to say about DGS soffits?
So we knew going into this job that we had to be very competitive and had to be low. We looked at it and realized that this thing has over 2 miles of soffits, literally 2 miles, and realized the ratio of soffits to drywall, traditional drywall framing was high. And then we had the opportunity to incorporate the Drywall Grid system into this project, and that it could give us a competitive edge. We were about 10% low, 7% precisely, low on bid day. Folks were, kind of nervous for us, but we knew that we went into the job with this Drywall Grid methodology, and we knew that we had savings there. But it gave us the opportunity to have a competitive edge on bid day, but also allowed us to have more profitability. So it made us more competitive, and now it has not only allowed us to meet budget, but we think we're going to strongly exceed budget. Safety is important to us. Always, our motto is safety always, and one of the things we can do to help with safety is minimize our time on scaffolds, lifts, and such. And Drywall Grid allowed us to do that in a soffit environment. So our uptime on a scaffold, literal uptime, is cut in approximately half, and that reduces our risk of exposure to a fall, which is our #1 issue with safety. Using Drywall Grid has impacted our manpower on the job. We have crew sizes are smaller. We're able to utilize the same individuals during different time frames as opposed to manning up in order to get a typical stud and track assembly built. We're able to prefab in advance using the same people that are going to do the install later, as opposed to having a manned up crew to get it all done at one time. Having the Drywall Grid allows us to prefab in anticipation of being released in an area. So once our customer says go, we're able to hit the ground running. Our installation time is cut in approximately half, at least. And it definitely cuts down on not necessarily the number of hours, but it's how we spend that time, and the ability to prefabricate and install in a shorter duration. With the Drywall Grid, we're able to use the jig system, and with us using jigs, the finished product is much higher quality than field fabrication with typical studs and track. We also adopted using the Panel Max milled drywall, beadless corner, if you will, on this particular project. We thought it was a good mating between the two. Drywall Grid allowed us the opportunity to have precise, straight, true 90s to enhance the way that finished product looked, so that we could get the Panel Max system and drywall bead approved. So the quality was extremely high with those two systems paired together. When we originally bid the job, we bid it both ways, traditionally and with the Drywall Grid, to understand what that difference might be. Originally we went into the bid assuming that we would get approximately 40 lineal feet of soffit framing on average across the board with a 2-man crew, traditional 2-man crew. Using the Drywall Grid, we cut it back to cut the manpower in half, one person, and budgeted anywhere from 80 to 100 depending on the type of soffit. So basically doubled the production, and then took into consideration the cost differences with the material.
Well, we decided to start using the Drywall Grid, use it on this job specifically because the timing was perfect. John came out, gave us a demonstration, showed us how the benefits of it, and how to use it, and how to simply build soffits. And so I went ahead and used that in my design of the soffits when I was estimating the job, and just kind of went from there. The shop drawings were key to getting this approved to use the Drywall Grid. I sent those to our engineer, and he approved them immediately. And they were really clear. The guys knew exactly what to do. We were able to build our jigs based on how the drawings showed the soffits to be built, and went very smooth.
So in our case, the Drywall Grid system is anything that might be quote-unquote waste is often used as a kicker or an angle, and we're virtually seeing no waste in the Drywall Grid. I mean, literally no scrap. We try to follow lean construction practices where nothing hits the floor. We palletize everything when it hits the job. The Drywall Grid is in pallets, in boxes, easy to move from one location to the other. And we find that it's just more user-friendly. The sizes of the material are easier to pick up, move, handle, again, back to safety, less risk of a back strain. It's just generally more user-friendly, not to mention the fact that it's on the pallets and able to move out of the way in relative short order.
We were able to leave clearances for all the other work above us, the duct work, electricians, sprinklers, everything. They all had a lot more room to work above us. They were all really happy about it. They were all able to get up on their ladders or lifts or whatever and work from the outside without having to move any of our framing. There was very little of that went on through the entire job.
So, a situation where the carpenter had been working for 2 to 3 weeks on Drywall Grid day in and day out, and really embracing and adopting it, and was given an assignment for a change order, and his supervisor asked him to build it out of light gauge framing, just studs and track, just sort of sent him on his way to do it. And fella was telling the supervisor midday at a check-in point that it wasn't working. Something was wrong. It was not working right. He said, "Why not?" He said, "It's too slow. Too slow. I need the Drywall Grid." And just he himself realizing that how much faster the Drywall Grid had been than his old stud and track. We'll approach future jobs utilizing this positive experience to keep us competitive, but we will definitely incorporate it into our estimates on the front end with less reservation. We will move forward with confidence, knowing what we're capable of doing now that we've proven ourselves with it. So we will utilize the efficiencies associated with Drywall Grid in our estimating process to win more work.
Ready to switch? How do I get started converting my soffits over to Drywall Grid? Just contact your Armstrong installation specialist for shop drawings and on-site training. If you build it, they will come.